Okay, so the client had her own fabric, which is a velvet. So when I cut it, you want to make sure the nap is going to the front, always. And so I'm going to lay it over like so. And I'm going to pin tack or pin staple. You can either use 6/8 tacks to do this. It's a staple, it's not permanent. I got it on the side like so. Just be careful when you do that. It's not really the application you should use, but. And then on the other side, I want to show you a little trick here. Now, because we don't have a lot of padding, actually, I am going to pin tack this side. Okay, watch. Don't worry about the ends. Okay, it's front to back we're doing first. I should have said sides, don't worry about it, or the end, don't worry about it. You see, we're going to be challenged, folks, with this wood, which is hardly anything there for us. So, you really need to take good aim. Some people who aren't used to using the staple gun definitely use your pin tacks, your 6/8 tacks as pin tacks, meaning not all the way in. Now I'm going to go to the other side. It needs to be stretched to this side, but what I'm going to do, because I know, it would look better if I'm able to fold this and staple it. And it will help me in the trimming. If I have to trim this, there's not enough wood, it might not look great. So this is just a trick I want to show you. You can only do this when you don't have a lot of padding. So I'm going to give it a try, and if it doesn't work, I'm not going to do it. I'll explain in a minute. Let's just see how it's going to work. Just an idea right now. So I'm going to fold this. It's a little harder for you folks now. Right away, my fabric I see is too thick for this. It's too thick. But on some of the other projects that you do, folks, if you have an ottoman like this and your fabric is thin, you can get away with just folding it and stapling, but it has to be done tight. You know, so that's not going to work with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen half side up. I am going to staple all the way now because it's where I want it to be. Not all the way to the corner because we need to make our pleats. Okay, I'm working from notice how I undid half side, went all the way here with a two-way stretch. You see some of my other videos if you want more detail about a two-way stretch. And I'm pulling as I go along. Look at that nice edge. Guys, just rewind the tape to see what that edge looked like before we started on the old fabric. Now that's a big difference, and that's what I was hired to do. The client I know is going to be happy already. So I'm going to pull this way, stretch, staple. It's always a good idea to get stapling this one first. Okay. And you see how this kind of came down on us a little bit, so I'm going to. So you should have a regulator at the ready when something like this happens. Hold on a second. Because our double piping that we're going to be put on this is about 1/2 inch wide, you can get away with just taking a regulator and giving it a little pull down and then stapling around where you pull the regulator. Okay? Make that look good. I'll trim this side to show you, but trim it really close. And then I'm going to show you how to put the trim on it. Bring it over here, same thing on this end, on the side. Let's call this, technically this is the back side. You know, don't be afraid to give it a little hammer down with your fist or your open hand like this to get it to do what you want it to do. Okay. And then I love this edge. This is a great upholstery fabric. It's really working out great. Make sure your cotton doesn't come below your staple work. That's not a good thing when that happens. See, I'm being challenged by this wood that's in here. It's not cooperating, so you have to turn your gun sometimes to get into the meat of the wood. Like I said, it wasn't a very well made piece. Okay, now I've got my front and my back. I'm coming to the side. Do not do any tack on the sides until you have front and back properly secured or stretched. It makes it a little easier to come over to here and just come into the middle, stretch to the end, coaxing, make it look right. It's coming out good. I'm happy with this. Come to the Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do the corners. So this is a bench where you're going to be looking at it from this way, okay? This is the front. So you want your pleats eventually to look like so. So what you need to do is carry a staple over to hit an even, maybe a little one there. And then on a heavier fabric, you do need to cut it out, okay? Sometimes you don't have to do this extra cutting to get it. And then I'm going to trim this. Take the regulator. I don't like this little pucker here, so I'll take my regulator and I'll regulate some cotton over there from the inside there. Looks pretty good. Not bad. Remember your double piping's coming up to you. A nice little edge right there. Let's do the other ones. Trim. Make sure that when you make this cut over here, folks, that you go a little bit above the edge of the staple, the top of the staple, because that's what unfolds it for you, okay? Okay, I'm going to get that, and then I'm going to go back. It's probably worth taking this staple out to adjust this. How about that, huh? Ran out of staples, change those quick. Reload. Finish that up. Go to the other plates. This way. Cut just a little bit more. Regulators will really come in handy for points like that. You see how that just took that out? Another staple there. One more corner. I'm going to show you how having a sharp pair of scissors really comes in handy. And you know, you need a scissor that fits your hand. And you need to sharpen them frequently. When you think about it, they're just two razor blades coming together. So, nice pair of scissors. Watch how I trim this. On this fabric here, it really trims out nice. I get it going, and then I'm really holding my blades together very firmly with my hand. Go right along with that, folks. Better than any razor blade. I do not own a razor blade in my shop. I advise anybody not to, because razor blades slip, and once you slip into wood, you got a big problem. Or worse yet worse, you could really hurt yourself. Most people don't realize that their razor blade is dull and they keep cutting and cutting and cutting and then they slip. But this is coming out really the way I wanted it to for my client. I think she's going to be happy. Okay, this I already trimmed. See, I want to get this trim even more. I'll go back to that. Look at that. Nice pair of scissors. Okay. See this piece? You can always go back with the gun, and because it's a little too close to trim now, just kind of put it up like that. Okay, we're at the next point. I just want to show you. This is the front. Look at that. Nice, huh? Okay, now what we're going to do is cut the double. Show you how to do the double welt. The double welting. Coming up next. Okay, so now we're going to cut the double piping. And the double piping is the trim we've chosen with the client to use on the bottom of our stool. Okay, and this is what the inside looks like. and I'll show you how to sew it. What we're going to do is, we want one continuous piece, and as luck would have it, I'm going to have enough, and I'm going to cut right up on the bias all the way to the other end, and that should give me enough to go all the way around the stool, which is really important because I won't have any seams, except where I close it up myself. Okay, this should be cut about 2.5 inches wide, folks. 2.5 inches wide. Okay, now let's go to the sewing machine and show you how this is done. Okay, folks, the trick to doing, there's a lot of tricks to doing double piping. Some of it's having the right equipment. So you really do need a double pipe foot, a double welt foot. And that's what it looks like. This is a 5/32 double welt foot, and this is 5/32 double welt interior. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this in. I changed out from my zipper needle. Make sure this is tight. Okay, I'm going to turn my machine on. I'm going to make sure that, I'm going to give you a couple of tips here. One of the tips is a lot of people, I'll show you what not to do. A lot of people try to get their double piping right even at the edge of the fabric. Notice I'm working from the back side of the fabric, folks. Don't do that. I suggest, because I cut it a little bit more, is to come this side and trim that later. And that's important because if the trimming comes, if the stitching comes undone because you're close like that, and it always does, it's hard to restitch it. If not impossible, you can start all over again. This way here, I am assured my stitching is working and is catching all of my material. You know, look how far, I don't care too much. This is, I'm not keeping this at a 1/2 inch. It doesn't have to be perfect. You notice how I cut it, it wasn't perfect. Well, for you people who have been doing upholstery and you've been taking and measuring your double piping exactly 3 inches and making sure that with the pencil that it's perfect, don't do that. You don't have to do that. You know, to speed yourself up. For beginners, I would do that. It's good practice. But for people who have been doing this, speed yourself up. It's one way you can speed yourself up. Okay, so I'm going to take this out and I'm going to trim this. I'm going to cut my threads. I'm going to trim this back even with that piping. Again, having a sharp pair of scissors certainly helps. Now I'm sure that all those stitches have done their job, because the next step, you're going to be folding it over, and I'll show you. Get rid of this. Okay, this has to be folded twice, 1 and 2. And you put it in your machine, lift your foot. Some people like dropping the foot to start, gives them a better start. And this is a slow process, folks. This is about every 3 inches. You notice I'm getting my fabric to align by pulling it this way. Rolling it, and I'm holding the back, and I'm making sure that it's as tight as I possibly can get it. The tighter that you can get it before you stitch, the nicer your double pipe is going to look. Double piping really has to be consistent looking. If it's missing a stitch, or if your bobbin thread ran out and you had to start over again, it's not going to look great. And I already checked my bobbin thread to make sure that I had enough to go all the way. So far, so good. Really happy. So this is a custom trim for our custom upholstered Ottoman. To the end. I will take that out of the machine, and I need to trim the excess. And again, watch this, folks. If you can get this moving with your blades, you should be able to slide right along like that. For those who aren't used to this type of quick work, you might want to make sure that you take small little snips so that you don't break the thread. But you have to get this very close. It has to be trimmed very close, see? So when I turn it over, look at that. We have a nice trim. And now I'm going to show you how to put it on how to glue it onto the Ottoman. Okay, so the best place to start your double piping on a bench is on one side. Okay, it has to be pieced somewhere. So, and you know, there's only one way as far as I'm concerned to piecing double piping. And I'm going to show you. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut out a little bit of the double piping, about 3/4 of an inch. And then I like to stop, by the way, very important, you want your salvage to run down, okay? Salvage to run down. This has been trimmed so well I can hardly see that. So that means salvage down, or what's left of it. So what I'm going to do is I like to start with a staple, just as a good place to start on the back side. Okay, I'm going to neaten this up a little bit. Bring this up, get another staple. This gives me a nice, look at that, a nice start point, okay? I'm going to take my regulator and just kind of groove that out. There we go. Okay, and now I'm going to take my hot glue gun. I'm going to start gluing. Okay, I'm going to go about, and what I'm doing, I'm pressing down gently and I'm rubbing the hot glue so that it's not a bead, but it is kind of spread out. And I'm going to take my mallet, hit it down. It's kind of, seals the deal up a little bit. Have your regulator at the ready so that you can take extra pieces like this, cut those. If there's anything left, just tuck them in. Okay, I'm going to come around the corner. I stopped at the corner, did you notice that? Then I'm coming around the corner. And I'm going to take that. This I'm really happy with. I get excited when I'm doing a job that's coming out really smooth. Okay. Okay, notice how I'm kind of coming up from the top and going down rather than the other way. Just a little subtlety in doing double piping. See a little glue there, which on velvet, I'll go back and clean that up, clean up nice. So you do have to be careful though. Don't want to glob it on. You want to spread it out so that it doesn't, seep through. Hot glue, as you've seen in other YouTube videos I've done, it's about 1002, 1001, 1002, 1003, and that's how fast it is to dry. Got a little bubble in the piping there. Do you see it? You can just kind of work it in the middle to try to get that tighter. Sometimes it's as easy as that. Or put your fingers together like that. That's good. Look at this. I'm just really happy with this. Bring it around the corner and stop a couple of inches away from the end where we started. Okay, and there's two ways we can finish this. So you got an extra welt, you can test it to see an cut angle, your piping like that, and see how that will look. I actually like that, so I'm gonna do it. You have to be careful here. You want to extend it about 1/2 of an inch, and then angle cut it, and then that should go in nice. Watch this. So we'll finish up, and then we angle it in there. Push it in like so, and get it. Don't like that wavy. We'll get this this way. There you have it. How about that? And we'll go over it again with the regulator to get some puckers out, and maybe spray with a little spring mist, and do a little touch up here and there, but I really like it. So there it is. We took an Ottoman that wasn't so good, wasn't upholstered very well, hit some nice bones to it, but we very upgraded the upholstery on it to a beautiful, traditionally done upholstered stool. So see you next time.